Now we return to Lady Thatcher, and one gauge of her impact is the number of dramas and films based on her life that have gone on in recent years. The play The Audience, which is on in London at the moment, shows meetings between the Queen and all of her prime ministers, among them Margaret Thatcher. That role is played by Haydn Gwynne, who's with us now. And I'm guessing it must have been a rather strange atmosphere last night, wasn't it?
Yes, it was a little nerve-wracking in the anticipation. Everybody, there were actors in the wings, and it's partly you're doing exactly the same job as you were doing the night before because it's a historical moment, but inevitably it's theatre. And one of the great things about theatre is that you have a live audience there, and their energy and what they're feeling and thinking and expressing.
So what was the mood of the audience, do you think?
The mood, to start with, our writer Peter Morgan made a brief acknowledgement at the start of the show, and they started quite very energised and very up. Now, when I come on as Thatcher, which isn't till the second half, and she's well set up, you think it's going to be her, but you're not sure till the moment she arrives. And usually, when I step onto stage as Thatcher, sometimes people laugh, sometimes they giggle, sometimes they go ooh, sometimes they applaud, but there is always a reaction. You can feel this intake of breath.
Well, I think that's partly because of your physical presence, the way you play it. I've seen the performance, it's very lifelike.
When you have this long walk around the back and you turn it, well, last night I came on to an absolute, utter silence. Silence. I think the audience didn't know how to react. They didn't know if it was okay to enjoy it. And as I came round and I did a very low curtsy, as Margaret Thatcher always did to the Queen, and usually that has quite a big reaction, very subdued, and I realised that they were nervous. They were nervous about how to react, and I had to quickly not allow myself to catch their nerves, to be confident. And I'm playing the scene with, wonderful Helen Mirren doing an extraordinary job as the Queen. And so I think we just sailed into the scene very confidently, and then they came on board and were like, oh, I see, it's okay, we can laugh, we can enjoy this. And then from then on, we were all right. But it did have a particular charge, there's no doubt about it.
What has been your overall approach to playing Lady Thatcher? I mean, her voice is particularly hard to master, I imagine.
Hard to master. It's certainly where I felt you had to start. It's strange as an actor to start with the outside. It's not the way, how does somebody sound? How does somebody look? That might be the last thing you come to. Here it's the first. Inevitably, I watched loads of footage. What was difficult doing it on stage, I had to make quite a big adjustment from the rehearsal room, because I imagine in her meetings with the Queen, it would be more like perhaps the interviews we're familiar with Robin Day, where you have this, rather breathy Thatcher who's talking to you very seriously and explaining with her head tilted exactly what I mean. But the thing about that is that on stage, of course, you have the problem of projection. So as soon as I got on stage, turning the volume up on that is quite difficult. And that's why I suddenly realised why you get this very different Thatcher at the dispatch box, No, the right honourable gentle, you've got to use, she needed to use a more powerful projected voice.
Which can be harder for women, actually.
Which is harder for women, but also for me, there was a technical problem in that I needed a projected voice, but to try and get the sense of the soft. So that's the sort of awkward trick of it. I leave it to you as to say how far I succeed. But I felt, how she looked, how she sounded was so much of how we responded to her. I had to honour that and try and honour her through that.
Well, you've certainly given us a wonderful flavour of The Audience. Haydn Gwynne, many thanks, and all your different voices.